Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Karen, and my husband Dan and I on this channel talk about ways that we are becoming more self-sufficient. And really any steps you take in the direction of becoming more self-sufficient is only going to help you in taking care of yourself and your family in the times that we currently live in. So if that is something that interests you, please consider subscribing to our channel and hit that like button on our video. It does help us with YouTube. Quick quiz for you. What has gone up 80% in price in 2021, and so far in 2022 has gone up an additional 30% in cost? If you said commercial fertilizers, you are correct. This is really debilitating to our farmers that the price of these fertilizers has gone up so dramatically, and they are looking for alternatives. Now, it hasn't really filtered down into the home gardener yet as far as the fertilizer prices, but home garden fertilizers have gone up about 12% so far. And so what we're going to be looking at is, and when we talk about becoming more self-sufficient, what do you have right now that could be used for fertilizers that isn't going to cost you anything? So today we're going to talk about something that you can plant a patch of that you can use for years and years to come as a near perfect garden fertilizer. We're going to talk about the super plant Comfrey and its amazing benefits, particularly for the garden. And then I'm going to show you how to make a Comfrey Tea fertilizer for your garden. This is our Comfrey patch. It was here when we got here, and I'm not sure how many years it was growing before that. But as you can see, Comfrey gets to be very tall, probably 2-3 feet tall. And Comfrey has many uses, and some of those are health uses. It can help heal wounds. It can help be used as a salve to help joint pain and different things. There's a lot of uses for Comfrey medicinally, but you do need to do your research because pregnant and breastfeeding women shouldn't be using it, and you shouldn't ingest it. But there are ways that you can make salves and poultices for a number of health conditions. And since I am not a doctor, you should always do your research. But let's talk about the benefits to the home garden for Comfrey. Comfrey has a near perfect blend of the macro and micronutrients that a garden needs. Most fertilizers are sold in stores with what's called an NPK ratio: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium ratio. Nitrogen is what helps produce all of the green leafy foliage that your plants need to harvest that sunlight and grow. Phosphorus does somewhat the same thing, but it also helps protect your plants from diseases and from pests. And then potassium is what promotes fruit and flower production on your plants. So having a good ratio of these three macronutrients is essential if you're going to have, a bountiful harvest. And that's where Comfrey comes in. It is high in all three of the macronutrients that you need to put onto your garden. And in addition, it also has high levels of some of the micronutrients that you need, like calcium and magnesium. Calcium is, particularly for tomatoes, is what's going to prevent that blossom rot that you sometimes can get in tomatoes when your calcium level isn't sufficient. So Comfrey is really an excellent balanced fertilizer. So how do you get all of those wonderful macro and micronutrients out of the Comfrey and into your garden? There's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can harvest the leaves, crush them up, and use them down in the hole when you're planting things. You can side dress your garden areas with Comfrey leaves. But you can also actually make a really good liquid fertilizer called Comfrey Tea for your garden. Now, comfrey is a cut and come again type plant. So once you cut it off, it's going to grow again. It just keeps coming back. And here where we live in zone 5A, we have our cold, snowy winters, and comfrey just goes dormant over the winter time and then comes back up again in the spring. So once you have a comfrey patch going, it will just keep producing and producing for you. It's done flowering now, but you can see where it had some flowers, and these get little purple flowers. Some comfrey gets more of a white or pink type flower. These get purple, but you can see that the leaves are very fuzzy and thick and generally pretty broad. Comfrey has an extremely deep taproot. It can go up to 10 feet deep with its taproot, and so it can pull up all of those macro and micronutrients from the ground and up into its plant. But also for this reason, because of the deep taproot, if you do plant a comfrey patch, you need to be sure where your patch is going to be, because eradicating it once it's established is just about impossible. To make comfrey tea, you're going to want to harvest some of the mature comfrey plants, because what you're really looking for is the leaves. You want to use the greens of the comfrey in comfrey tea. So you're going to snip off some more mature plants, 1.5 to 2 feet high. Then you can snip them off a couple of inches above the ground. And then you're just going to take off those leaves, and whatever bucket that you are using, you'll want to fill it about half full with comfrey leaves. Another thing you can do with comfrey is it's good for chicken fodder. So anything that I am not utilizing from this can be given to the chickens. Once you have your leaves collected, then what you'll want to do is, in order to keep the leaves down into the bucket steeping, we're going to put a couple bricks on top of there. And now we'll fill our bucket with just regular water. Once our bucket is full, we want to put a lid on it. Now, if you don't actually have a lid that's for your bucket, you can put a board on it with a brick or anything like that, but you want to cover it so that everything stays in, and so that you don't get rainwater in there that could overflow the bucket and then dilute your tea. Another reason that you would want to put a cover on your comfrey tea while it's steeping, and even after it's steeping, is that it smells horrible. And if you don't put a lid on it, your whole garden area is gonna stink of rotting comfrey. So keep that in mind. Then just set this in an out-of-the-way location in your garden area and let it steep and ferment. You'll know the tea is ready when there's like a sludge or a goo rather than leaves in your tea, and it'll be a nice dark brown color. And I'm going to tell you how then you can use this tea and how you need to dilute it. But there are a couple of ways that you can actually speed up this process. If you were to crush, cut, chop up the leaves, it wouldn't take quite as long. Also, if you're in a hurry and you really need some fertilizer for your garden, you can put boiling water over the comfrey leaves, let it steep for about 24 hours, and then you can use it that way. Now, if you decide to do that, your ratio when you go to use it will be about half and half with water. If you do just the regular comfrey tea where you've let it steep for 3 to 6 weeks and then you need to use it, there's all different opinions all over the internet about what the ratio should be, but you should never use it straight on your garden because it can cause a fertilizer burn to your plants. So my suggestion would be like a 1 cup of Comfrey tea to 10 cups of water, like a 1 to 10 ratio, or even a 1 to 15 ratio. You want to really dilute it down with that water. Again, if you decide to do the boiling method, it's ready quicker, but it's not as potent, so you could use like a half and half with water. And if you use it prior to that 3 to 6 weeks where it's all broken down, of course you can adjust your ratio at that point too. Maybe you want a cup of Comfrey tea to 4 cups of water or something of that nature. And here's another little tip. If you don't have a Comfrey patch, you can make a fertilizer tea with weeds. Weeds that you pull out of the garden. You're just going to throw them on the compost, or you're just going to throw them off to the side anyway. Why not do this same method with weeds? They do generally have a lot of nitrogen. So even if they don't have the perfect ratio, you're still going to get some benefit and some value for your garden. So take those weeds and throw them in the bucket and make a weed tea. We're going to be talking more on our channel in the future about no-cost fertilizers for your garden, things that you can recycle and things that you already have that you don't have to buy in the store. So I hope that you will go ahead and subscribe to our channel and join us for more of our homesteading videos where we are talking about becoming more self-sufficient. We certainly hope that you are having an excellent weekend, and we will see you later on this week.